The world had ceased to exist beyond the hood of the massive Kenworth snowplow. There was no sky, no horizon, no mountains, only the violent swirling void of the blizzard, illuminated by the twin halogen suns of the headlights. Miller sat high in the cab, a solitary king in a kingdom of ice, vibrating in sync with the roar of the diesel engine. The cabin smelled of diesel fumes, cold rubber, and the metallic tang of adrenaline that had turned sour hours ago. Inside, the heater blasted dry, suffocating air that cracked his lips, fighting a losing battle against the negative 40-degree chill radiating from the glass. He was clearing Rogers Pass, a stretch of asphalt that nature tried to reclaim every winter, scraping the blade against the blacktop with a sound like a giant grinding his teeth. He was driving by memory now. The road markers were gone, buried under 6 feet of fresh powder. The CB radio, usually a chatter of trucker voices, had dissolved into a rhythmic static that sounded suspiciously like breathing. Miller checked the dashboard clock. It blinked 12 hour. It had been blinking 12 hour for what felt like days. Fatigue was a physical weight on his eyelids, a grey film over his vision. He gripped the wheel, his knuckles white, telling himself it was just the altitude, just the exhaustion. But deep down, in the lizard brain that sensed danger before the eyes saw it, he knew the geometry of the road had changed. Then a flash of color cut through the monochrome madness. Orange, high-visibility safety orange. It was impossible. No one was up here. The road was closed. Miller slammed on the air brakes, the massive machine shuddering to a halt, the tires biting into the packed ice. The plow blade dropped with a heavy thud. About 20 yards ahead, half buried in a snowdrift on the shoulder, lay a figure. It wasn't moving. As the snow swirled around it, Miller squinted, leaning forward against the freezing steering wheel. The figure was wearing a Department of Transportation uniform, heavy parka, reflective stripes, just like his. Miller's heart hammered against his ribs. He didn't want to look at the face. He knew with a sickening absolute certainty whose face was frozen in the blue ice of that snowbank. Miller didn't open the door. The wind outside was screaming now, a physical force battering the side of the truck, threatening to tear the heavy steel door off its hinges if he dared to crack the seal. Inside, the safety of the cab felt thin, fragile. "It's hallucination," he whispered, the sound of his own voice startling him. It sounded dry, raspy, like sandpaper on stone. "Hypoxia. Carbon monoxide leak. You've been driving too long." He shifted the massive transmission into gear. The gears ground together, a mechanical scream of protest. He had to keep moving. If he stopped, the cold would find a way in. The plow lurched forward, pushing a wave of heavy, wet snow aside. As he passed the body, he refused to look. He locked his eyes on the wiper blades slapping frantically against the glass. "Don't look. Don't look." But the side mirror was a traitor. In the red glow of the taillights, he saw the figure clearly for a fraction of a second. The orange parka, the way the left boot was missing, just a socked foot sticking out of the snow. Miller looked down at his own feet. He was wearing both boots, but his left foot felt numb, cold, dead. He pressed the accelerator. The engine roared, drowning out his thoughts. He drove for what felt like an hour, the white tunnel of the headlights mesmerizing him. The road should have descended by now. He should have reached the switchbacks leading down to the valley, but the road just kept going up into the storm, up into nothing. Crackle! The CB radio flared to life. The static cleared, replaced by a voice. "Mayday, Mayday, this is Plow Unit 4. I'm stuck at mile marker 88. Engine is failing. I'm getting cold." Miller froze. His hands began to shake so violently the steering wheel vibrated. Unit 4 was his call sign, and the voice wasn't a stranger's, it was his own. But it sounded younger, less tired, panicked. "Hello?" Miller shouted into the mic, grabbing it with a trembling hand. "Unit 4, this is Miller. I'm at mile marker nowhere. I'm on the pass, where are you?" The radio ignored him. It wasn't a conversation, it was a recording. "It's getting dark," the voice on the radio whispered. "My left boot came off in the drift when I tried to fix the blade. I can't feel my toes. Oh God, it's so cold." Miller dropped the mic. It swung from the cord like a hanged man. His left foot was throbbing now, not with pain, but with a phantom memory of pain. He looked at the dashboard. The fuel gauge, which had been at half a tank, was now empty. The needle rested on the E, but the engine didn't sputter. It kept purring, smooth, infinite, impossible. The headlights caught another flash of orange ahead. Miller whimpered, a sound of pure distilled terror. Another body. He slammed the brakes again, sliding sideways this time, the heavy rear end of the truck trying to overtake the front. He came to a stop inches from the snowbank. This body was closer. It was lying face up. The orange parka was torn. The face was blue, covered in a delicate layer of frost crystals. The eyes were open, staring blankly up at the swirling snow. It was Miller, but this one looked older. The skin was sunken, and the eyes were looking directly at the truck, directly at him. Miller scrambled backward, pressing his back against the seat, trying to put distance between himself and the windshield. How many times, the thought intruded, unbidden. How many times have I driven this loop? He looked at the odometer. The numbers were spinning, not forward, backward. 99,999. 99,998. The heater suddenly died. The fan spun down into silence. The silence was worse than the roar. In the sudden quiet, Miller heard it. Not the wind, not the radio. A tapping. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from the glass of the driver's side window. He slowly turned his head. Standing on the running board, peering in through the glass, was a man in an orange parka. He was missing his left boot. His skin was blue. Ice crystals coated his eyelashes. The thing outside raised a frozen hand and pointed at the door handle. "Let me in," the dead eyes seemed to say. "It's warm in there, and it's my turn to drive." Miller grabbed the door handle, not to open it, but to lock it. He slammed the lock down over and over, hysterical. "Go away," he screamed, his breath fogging the glass. "I'm alive. I'm the one driving. I'm alive." The figure outside didn't blink. It just watched him with a sadness that was older than the mountains. Then it spoke. Not through the glass, but through the dead radio speakers. "You stopped, Miller. You stopped at mile marker 88. You stopped 3 days ago." Miller looked down at his hands. They were turning blue. The frost was creeping across his knuckles, spreading like a fungus. He looked at the windshield. The frost was on the inside now. The cabin was fading. The steel, the gauges, the smell of diesel. It was all becoming translucent, dissolving into the white. The only thing that remained solid was the cold and the road, the endless upward road. He realized then why the plow never ran out of fuel, why the road never ended. He wasn't clearing the snow. He was the snow. Miller let go of the wheel. His hands passed through it as if it were made of smoke. The figure outside opened the door, which wasn't locked, which had never been locked, and climbed into the driver's seat. Miller watched as his own frozen form took the wheel, shifted the gear and drove the plow forward, leaving him behind in the drift. He tried to scream, but his mouth was full of ice. He lay back in the snowbank, feeling the warmth finally leave him, waiting for the headlights to come around the bend again, waiting for the next Miller to find him. We all have roads we travel on autopilot, but what happens when the road decides it doesn't want to let you go? If the cold in this story reached you, subscribe to Old World Whispers. Join us in the dark, and tell me in the comments, have you ever seen something on a lonely road that physics couldn't explain? I'll be reading.